Once upon a time, in a bustling shopping mall, there was a notorious thief who had been evading the law for years. He was cunning and resourceful, always managing to stay one step ahead of the authorities. On this particular day, he had decided to rob a high-end lingerie store. His plan was to sneak into the store during closing hours and steal the day's earnings. As fate would have it, he chose the same day and time that a young woman named Amelia had decided to treat herself to some new underwear. Amelia was a beautiful 24-year-old with an air of innocence about her. She had just started a new job and was excited to celebrate her newfound independence with a luxurious purchase. The thief, whose name was James, had been watching Amelia from a distance. He was captivated by her beauty and couldn't help but feel a strange sense of admiration for her. He decided to wait until she was done shopping before executing his plan. Amelia tried on several sets of underwear, admiring herself in the mirror with each new outfit. She finally settled on a lacy black set that made her feel both sexy and empowered. As she was getting dressed, she noticed that the store had grown strangely quiet. She looked around, feeling a sense of unease wash over her. James had been patiently waiting for Amelia to finish trying on clothes. Once she had left the changing room, he slipped inside and quickly began stuffing the stolen cash into his backpack. He had almost made a clean getaway when he heard footsteps approaching. Panicking, he hid in the small space between the wall and the changing room door. Amelia, who had realized she had forgotten her purse in the changing room, returned to fetch it. As she opened the door, she was shocked to find James hiding just inches away from her. Her initial fear quickly turned into curiosity as she noticed the bulge in his pants. James, unable to resist the temptation of such a beautiful woman, started to speak. "I'm sorry for startling you," he said in a deep, husky voice. "I didn't mean to. But now that we're here together, maybe we can make the best of this situation." Amelia, feeling a strange mix of fear and attraction, hesitated for a moment before responding. "What do you have in mind?" she asked, her voice trembling. Amelia's heart raced. James took a step closer, his eyes locked on hers. "I've been watching you all day," he confessed. "You're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. I couldn't help but want to be close to you." Amelia's heart raced as she listened to his words. She couldn't deny the intense attraction she felt towards this mysterious stranger. "What about the money?" she asked. "You were stealing from the store." James hesitated for a moment before answering. "I've been alone for so long, and now that I've met you, I realize that the money doesn't matter. All that matters is being with you." As the words left his lips, Amelia felt a wave of desire wash over her. She took a step closer to James, her eyes locked on his. "Let's do this," she whispered, her voice filled with a mix of fear and excitement. James took Amelia's hand, leading her to the small space on the floor between the wall and the changing room door. They hesitated for a moment, their eyes locked on each other, before giving in to their desires. Their lips met in a passionate, fiery kiss, as their hands explored each other's bodies. Amelia unbuttoned James's shirt, revealing a muscular chest that sent a shiver down her spine. James, in turn, unzipped Amelia's dress, revealing the lacy black underwear that she had purchased earlier. He couldn't help but admire her beauty, and as his hands began to explore her curves, Amelia moaned with pleasure. Their passionate encounter continued, with Amelia losing herself in the intensity of their connection. She had never experienced such a strong attraction to someone she had just met. It was as if fate had brought them together in that moment, and they were unable to resist their desires. As they made love on the floor of the changing room, the outside world seemed to fade away. The sound of their moans and the feel of their skin on skin were the only things that mattered. Time seemed to stand still as they reveled in the pleasure they were bringing to each other. Finally, as their passion reached its climax, Amelia and James collapsed onto the floor, their bodies spent and satisfied. They lay there, their arms wrapped around each other as they tried to catch their breath. As the reality of their situation began to set in, Amelia couldn't help but feel a sense of guilt. "What about the store owner?" she asked, her voice filled with concern. "We can't just leave them like this." James, feeling a sense of responsibility for the situation, agreed. "You're right," he said. "We need to call the police and explain what happened." Together, they called the police and confessed their crime. The police arrived shortly after and took James into custody. Amelia, although relieved that she had not been arrested, couldn't help but feel a sense of loss as James was led away. In the days that followed, Amelia couldn't stop thinking about James and their passionate encounter. She realized that their time together had awakened something within her, a desire to explore her own sensuality and to embrace her true self. As for James, he was sentenced to prison time for his crimes. But during his time behind bars, he realized that he wanted to change his ways. He began to educate himself and found a new purpose in life. Years later, Amelia and James would cross paths again, their lives forever changed by that fateful night in the changing room. The passion they had shared had never faded, and they found themselves drawn to each other once more. This time, however, their love story would have a different ending. With James determined to leave his criminal past behind and Amelia embracing her sensuality, they would finally be able to explore their love in the open, no longer bound by the secrecy and danger of their first encounter. And so, Amelia and James would learn that sometimes, even in the most unexpected situations, love can be found in the most surprising of places. Their story would serve as a reminder that passion and desire can bring people together, even in the face of adversity.
Please subscribe to my channel Lessons of Life and press the bell notification icon.